Hi, my name is Jessica Connor, and this is the Photoshop Basics tutorial over the burn tool. The burn tool is used to darken areas of a photograph that are light. And the interesting part about this tool is the dodge tool and the burn tool was a process that originated in a photography darkroom. For example, Ansel Adams, a famous photographer, was the first person to really experiment with the dodge and burn, or dodging and burning in a dark room. And you can see in this photograph that this picture or image was a straight exposure right off the film. They exposed it and developed, and that's what the image looked like. Which, with dodging and burning, this image was produced. And there's quite a difference between that. And it's interesting if you read down here that these images, the dodging and burning, allowed Ansel to show the picture, the image, on how he really felt like it looked when he was there in person, as opposed to what the film captured. So even back then, they were experimenting and altering images with a developer by dodging and burning. And dodging and burning, for example, with this image, you have the exposure on the light sensitive paper, and you are covering up and hovering over an area to lighten it or exposing it more to darken it. And we're going to look a little bit more into burning. And the burn tool is used to darken an area on a photograph. So just thought you'd like to know a little bit of the background of the dodge and burn. And I was pretty excited when I started with Photoshop that I recognized those things as a reference to film photography. So the burn tool I'm going to use on this image to darken primarily the bottom and upper right hand area of the photo. And so I'm going to select the burn tool here, and you can go up here and select how big of a brush you want. If you want a small brush, if you want a larger or even bigger brush. You can also select if you want it to affect the shadows, the midtones, or the highlights of the picture. And you can select the exposure, which is how dark it's actually going to get. And so just to show you, exposure 65, if I were to move this down here, you can see how dark this would get, how quickly. And I like to work a little bit lighter, and it allows me to, or a little bit less exposure, and it allows me to go through and slowly darken. I just go over and over and over a part to find the right darkness to match everything else. So let me get rid of that. First thing, as I always say, is it's good to make a copy of your image. So I'm going to duplicate this layer and work on it instead of my original, just in case I can go back to it. I would say this is probably one of the more advanced tools. It takes a little bit more time to get used to it, and you really have to, go backwards, go forwards to figure out what works best. So I'm going to stay on the midtones with the exposure of 15, and I'm going to try first this bigger brush. I don't really want to expose too much of the hands right now. I'm just going to work on the jeans to try and match this tone up here. It works best if you go over the whole area first and then kind of work your way back. And so I'm just going to slowly darken, trying not to get any areas that stand out that are striped in any ways. And you can see how that really does start to help. I'm going to go over into this gray t-shirt or gray sweatshirt that's very light and dark in it, and same thing with the hair and even the exposure of the background back here. Just kind of work your way back and forth, slowly darkening until you feel like it's the right area. I'm going to do a little bit on the hands, a little bit on her skin, just a little bit. And then I can really get a much nicer image with that. Her face is not as bright as the rest of the photo was, and I'm going to get his hand real quick too. So I'm going to decrease the exposure just a little bit to kind of darken here, but not as extreme. Same thing maybe up there a little bit. And that left kind of a spot, so I don't want that. I'm going to decrease the size of my brush to kind of fit the size of the area I'm going to darken. And you don't want to get rid of everything. You just want to make this a more natural looking photograph. And I don't really know if I did that to my liking, so I'm just going to undo and darken just a little bit more. And you can use a smaller brush for smaller areas. This needs just a little because it's not quite the same as the background, or this shirt right here. But this is just a quick example of how you can change a photograph, and I'm going to show you what it looked like before, just to give you an idea. Click on the eyeball, click off, and you really have a much better looking picture than you did before. So good luck, give it a shot, and try it on one of your images.